It was Texas, it was Tennessee.
All right, everybody. Welcome into the Texas to Tennessee podcast. We are Steveless tonight, so I had to bring the podcast in. He's at a concert tonight. So what a loser that guy is. We said that earlier, so we'll say it again. Make sure everybody knows. But our guest tonight is Josh Mitcham. Appreciate you taking the time to hop on, man.
Hey man, it like I said, it was a beautiful day. I had the garage door open and just trying to get a little vitamin D.
Man, it really was. It stinks that there's going to be some some rain possibly the next couple of days in my area anyway. But man, it was extremely nice today.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're getting it too this weekend, but I'm trying to soak it up while I can.
No doubt about it. Um, so we kind of connected through Instagram, I believe. You have a podcast. I kind of have a podcast, and then I figured out that you had original music after the fact.
It's weird how it's like I had Jack Browning on mine, and I discovered him through his art first, and then
Same.
found out he was a musician. It's like social media is a weird thing, and your algorithm will send you whatever it wants to, I guess. And but yeah, it was like I was checking out your podcast because of all the great acts that you had on here and the artists, and I was like, hey man, I'd like to get on this thing with you sometime.
Yeah, yeah, Jack was same with me. I found him because of the art, and I think a lot of people have. Because if you're scrolling through social media and you see his paintings, you're gonna
Yeah.
stop and look because he's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and he's doing the people that we would be interested in,
Right. Yeah.
So it was like, and I bought a couple things from him, so I'm trying to support that part of it too.
Very cool. Very cool. And he's going to be coming to the States again this summer.
I tried to get him at the barn, so I have the rental barn here on the farm, and we do a ramble twice a year, and I was like, if you're going to be here around May, man, like I'd really like to have you, and but it just wasn't going to work out. Of course, I think he's playing like Laurel Cove Music
Mhm.
Festival, and he's doing a couple cool things. So hopefully we get to link up while he's here.
I need to make that trip up to Laurel Cove. I'm real new to the festival scene for the most part, and um, that's just one of them that they keep being told there's
Look,
nothing like it. You need to go.
John Grace has done a fantastic job of just like, and he, it's kind of like here at the barn. The first ramble I did was Cole Chaney and Wolf Penn Branch and Tony Logue and
Mhm.
the, and I did it to try to bring music to the local folks here that I knew they weren't getting on, regular radio and all that.
Right.
And at first it's a challenge because the people are sitting there and they're like, I don't know these songs. Like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, but is it good? Like they're good, right? And they're like, well, yeah, but I don't know the words. I'm like, buy their CD, buy their T-shirts, start following them, and over time, they now they know, like they know the drill. And I think John kind of did that too. Like people were locally were kind of bashing him because of, like, who are these people you're bringing in, and like we've never heard of them, and why don't you have, like, I don't know,
Right.
Slipknot or something, who knows?
Right.
Uh, but now it's like I see him post all the time, like, just because I know you doesn't mean I can get you a ticket because it's going to sell out in about 30 seconds, and you should have got on board a long time ago. Now they're at that place where you know they it literally sold out. I think in pre-sale. So it's like you know that's where you hope to land. But yeah, you should definitely try to hit that up. I don't know, and I think there's a lot of people out there doing who just genuinely love music, love independent artists, aren't trying to do it for any kind of like, they're not trying to get like a big name person just to kind of put a feather in their hat. They're like digging and
Yeah.
trying to find people that are coming up and who are building that grassroots thing. And and that's a festival that you can, you can get people when they're $1,500, and
That's what I was
and
gonna say. The first name that comes to mind is Red Clay Strays, but but they weren't quite the Red Clay Strays that everyone knows now. So it's
but
they
they
were
were,
right there.
if you were there,
Right.
you immediately knew like this thing
Exactly.
is it's like I mean everybody jumping in the creek and
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean what an epic moment and you know and I've tried to kind of do the same thing. I don't know I you know you mentioned the podcast and I've got the barn where I do a couple shows a year and I'm still touring and playing and doing all those things. It's like I had a real good friend one time that because honestly so I don't know. We're in this now, so I'll just
Yeah.
you know. So I was in a band in college called Floored that was like rock and country, and we were together for a decade. We were touring with Little Big Town. We were doing all these things, but I was just a cocky shit, and I expected my managers to do all the work, and I just kept waiting around for the big thing to happen, and I don't know, it just didn't happen, and mostly because I guess I wasn't working hard myself, you know, and and then with Jericho Woods, you know, it was kind of one of those things where the whole thing kind of changed. You know, geographically, we're close to Nashville, so that made sense. And it was like, so we started out as this kind of like Allman Brothers-y kind of John Mellencamp kind of thing. You know, fast forward 8 years later, we're working with producers in Nashville and all those things, and the product that comes out, you're like,
Right.
I like it, but I don't like. I don't know. Is this really what I started out trying to make? And you start chasing stuff, and and it's kind of embarrassing because you start to get desperate because you don't want it to go away. Like
Right.
you're like, I don't want to go back to work and do the straight job. You know, I want to keep this thing going. So you start making it. I did. I started making concessions. I started compromising. I wanted to keep all the band together and keep all the guys working. And you just kind of get to a point where it's like, what the hell am I doing? And so I've really kind of shifted to like, how do I build this thing that I do exactly what I want to do? I associate myself with artists and people that I love and that I'm fans of and that inspire me. You know, how do I try to help prop them up and promote their stuff and then still get to do the things I want to do? And I don't know, that's just kind of where I've landed. I live here in I'm about an hour from Louisville, about 2 hours from Nashville, right kind of on the Ohio River, close to Indiana. And you know, I'm not Appalachian. Like I live closer to John Cougar than I do
Understood.
Timmy Tyler, right? So, um, but it's but I'm in my grandparents' 100-year-old house. We bought the farm. It's 140 acres. It's the most beautiful place in the whole world. And I've just kind of made my own little table here. And I'm inviting people to come sit at this table now instead of trying to sit at other people's table, you know.
Yeah. Makes complete sense.
And and when I stopped giving a shit, like that's kind of what like yeah, you know, that's how it works, right? You know, because the last record that I put out, I released it in January, and I even mentioned to my dad, like, I don't know why I keep recording music and putting it out. Like, I'm making tens of dollars a year on streaming, you know.
Right.
And he's like, you just never know, buddy. Like, you know, just keep throwing it up against the wall, and you know, it makes you happy. Just keep doing it. And literally, it had the most success and the most streams, like of a release I've ever had with bands or managers or anything. You know, just dumb luck. And you know, when you are the person who is responsible for the whole thing, you it's not embarrassing to direct message somebody and say, "Hey, man, it'd be cool if you put this on your playlist." You know, you don't have to, but listen to it if you like it. Man, that would be cool. And I was real lucky to, you know, some people at Whiskey Riff and Country Central, and you know, some of these big, huge, you know,
Mhm.
every Friday they're dropping a playlist and 15,000, you know, 50,000 people are
Right.
subscribers, and you know, I did pretty good, right? And I don't have a band anymore, so it's like it's just me with two mics and recording stuff. Uh, but it is, you know, from that, you know, I've got some really cool festivals coming up this year. Brett Robinson reached out and was like, "Man, I want to make a record," and I'm like, "Brett Robinson, who played with Whitey Morgan, played the steel guitar?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, So, so there's been some really cool things that have happened when I wasn't trying to please anybody but me. So,
Yeah, that's and I imagine, like you said, it probably takes a little bit of humility to ask people to check out your stuff or add it to a playlist or something like that. But I imagine like when the I guess you start getting some positive feedback, then that kind of goes out the way, and you realize that that's just part of the
look,
thing.
there was times when I've had a label when I was in Jericho Woods, and they were paying $7,000 a month for promotion and
Right.
radio, promotion, all that stuff. And I'm like, those people are working really hard for me, but I just never felt like anybody worked as hard for me as I did. And you know what? It's not gonna hurt my feelings if somebody says, "Man, no thanks," whatever. It's no skin off my back, and if it's not good, and you don't like it, like okay, like I got 50 more songs that I need to record. So I don't know. It's I'm not. I can't quit. It's a disease. Like it's there's song ideas in your head all the time, and if you don't do something with them, they just kind of fester like a blister. And it's like
Hmm.
and then once you record them, like I'm kind of over them. Like okay, they're
Next.
the world's.
Okay.
Next song, next record, let's go. Um, but it is I think what we're all really looking for. Nick Jamerson and I were talking about this. It's like I want people that I hold in real high esteem to go, man, I really like that,
Hmm.
and just kind of get the respect from the people that I'm a fan of and that I've looked up to, and for them to just go, yeah, man, we're in the same, like we're all rowing in the same boat, and I recognize you for that, and
Because they understand.
yeah, oh yeah, I mean, like Nick is, I always tell people like he's the goat for of the last 15 years for Kentucky music. Sonny Best was the biggest thing that.
I'm really like over the last couple of years fairly new to Sunday Best like
Well,
that,
and
and
it's they still play, but it's
uh
kind of like they were 2010, you know,
understand.
and 2010 to 2015, like they were this huge thing, and uh, and did it 100%. Like, I mean, he was playing the cajon and Nick was playing guitar. Like that was not something that modern radio
Right.
was accepting at that time. But they kind of set the stage for all Kentucky musicians. So like there is this thing that's happening with people who are just doing regular, like I don't know, they were like somebody that you knew from high school that you knew could sing and play guitar, and they were reaching these heights.
They're just doing what they do, and
Right,
just
and it
whatever they could do with the people they had in their time and that group. Just you
it
know,
resonated,
yeah,
and it wasn't truck boat truck and
yeah.
look, like I have a 21-foot Baja with a 454. When I'm on the lake, there's certain songs that just hit different, right?
Understood.
But but that's not what I listen to, and I'm okay with those people. Like more power to they're entertainers, right?
Understood.
Like I can get down with that. Like you're making people happy, you're making money, go get your money. Uh, but when it comes to artists, it's like, uh, and Tyler Childers may tell me to shut up, but for me, like Nick was kind of the guy who there wouldn't have been those people from Kentucky after him if Sonny Best hadn't kind of kicked that door down for independent music, and especially in the Lexington area where kind of all that happened. But I don't, it, the good thing about the Kentucky music scene, as saturated as it is, and I told you before we got on, like, you throw a rock and hit a great
Right.
songwriter, so it's hard to get traction. And all the Kentucky festivals, I want to play on them, but they can't just fill them up with Kentucky people. They've got to
Right.
trying to branch out too, but we're all great to each other and love each other and share each other's stuff try to get each other on shows when it works, and
Yep.
so it's real familial because a lot of the same people have been playing together for or around each other for a decade.
Which is really cool. Like I didn't realize all this. We talked about it several times as far as like the Texas scene and these different scenes, in the Nashville world, sometimes you can be. I think Ross Cooper basically just said it, kind of like they were. Everyone's kind of fighting over the crumbs. To once you get kind of this certain level, everyone's kind of fighting over that thing, these gigs, that
there's
whatever.
there's
But
only
when
so many. There's only so much there, and
right, but when you get in those certain scenes, it seems like once you're accepted into that scene, everyone kind of has their back,
there was a so in 2000 and it was either I guess it was 2017. Um, Tyler was trying to raise money for Purgatory, and
okay,
a guy over in Estill County uh, named Byron Roberts who did a festival called Kicking It on the Creek, and the whole purpose of that festival was to raise money so that Sturgill could produce
okay,
Purgatory, right? Well, the festival was a success. It was mostly all Kentucky folks. Uh, Tyler got his money. He made the record that we all know that really propelled him to
right,
stardom. And he did that festival. Byron did for 2 or 3 more years. 2019 was the last one, and it was just like the biggest like Kentucky love fest. You know, like because everybody there was. I mean, there were some West Virginia folks and there were some different people.
right.
John R was on
Understand.
it, but it was just like we were all just so happy to be there together at the same time because you just didn't get to do that very much. And I don't know, that just kind of set the tone for me. It's like, and I know Texas is Texas, and if we share anything with Texas, it is a geographic superiority complex. It's like everything's bigger in Texas. I know it's huge and it's great, and Austin's awesome, and I love tacos and and I love all the K stations. Like you cross the
Oh
Mississippi,
yeah, yeah.
and like the music is just, it's like where has this world been my whole life?
Mm-hmm.
But Kentucky has this thing too. Like I live 45 minutes from where Bill Monroe was born. An hour from where the Everly Brothers were born. I can be in Eastern Kentucky pretty quick, and with the Loretta Lynn's and the Keith Whitleys and all those things, and it kind of has always had its stamp too. And we got bourbon, and all
Yeah,
that. So
Texas.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like
Texas. We got horses too. Damn it.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
no, I think. Well, my point on that was like when you were talking about being accepted into amongst your peers as far as other people you kind of you listen to or you think are good writers and stuff, and but once you I think my comparison with that is like there's a lot of folks from that Alabama, Georgia, Florida scene. It all starts to cross pollinate at some point in time. But it seems like once you're putting in the work and they see that you're just trying to do the same thing, you're working at it, you're pounding the pavement just like they are. Then you're in that community, no matter which community you know
Well, you're talking
you
about
know.
Alabama, so like, you got, Drayton Farley, you got Taylor Honeycutt, you
Hmm.
got Red Clay Strays, like they're all kind of a gang. You
Right.
know, you've got Adam Hood and Brent and the
Edie.
Muscadine bloodline. Like, Georgia's kind of got their thing. Obviously, Oklahoma has their thing. Texas is like another country, so like it's
Yeah.
probably got 10 scenes. I don't know, but yeah,
Probably.
so it's like you kind of have a team, right?
That's
But
what it. That's. I
my
mean,
jersey says Kentucky on the front.
so your team is blue. I
Yes,
got you. I got you.
you
Well,
damn right.
you used to have John Calipari, which I can't stand because he was at Memphis beforehand. So, but now you're tired of him too. So we can talk.
Yes, we can talk
We're
all
on
the
the
shit you
same team
want
now.
about Cal. I,
Yeah.
he's a smooth talker. I
Oh,
got tired of
definitely,
listening to it.
definitely. He is. He's definitely a really good used car salesman. which we haven't won the same amount of games since he was not here anymore.
But
But
but we kind
still,
of did the same thing you did. You all grabbed Penny, and
yeah.
which I love Penny Hardaway, and now we've got Mark Pope, who was one of
Yep.
ours too. So you have a little bit more. You give them a little bit more rope
You definitely do.
because they're
Yeah,
more
and Cal
here.
might lose his job at Arkansas this year. There's no
Yeah.
telling.
He's got a lifetime of Tyson chicken and probably Walmart gift cards, so he'll be fine.
Oh he's not going to be hurting. That's for sure. All right, man. So normally we kind of do this at the beginning, but we're both podcast people, so we're both talking.
Yep. Like
Uh,
no dead air. We got to keep talking.
so what if I ask you who the hell is Josh Mitcham? What would you tell me?
All right. So short answer.
Okay,
Um, I was an ag teacher by trade, so I taught high school agriculture. That's what I went to college for. Did that for 15 years, but was playing music kind of with parallel lives, right?
gotcha.
And there was a point where, and I had really good administrators and principals that I worked with that I was going to Nashville 1 day a week, and then it was 2 days a week, and it was like, hey, I got to leave early to do this. They were real cool about that. They were like, but you know what? After this year, you kind of need to do something. So I was able to, I was in Jericho Woods, and we did pretty well. Had a lot of regional success, and uh, did that full time for like 5 years. But it did its thing, and a lot of it is luck and timing and right place and all that. So I went back to work. I'm not teaching, but I do work. I'm still kind of working in education. Right in November of 2019, and then of course we're at the 5 year anniversary of COVID
Right.
this week. Thank goodness I went back to work because the bottom dropped out, and I would have starved to death, I guess. But from that point on, I've been in bands. And as a lead singer and this is gonna make me sound like an asshole. I told you I'm not an asshole, but this may make me sound like one. But as a lead singer who writes the songs, who did a lot of the booking and a lot of the managerial stuff,
Right.
drove the damn van most of the time too, because I was a control freak, but once that all kind of ended, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna be a solo artist, and I'm just gonna write the songs that are in my head, and it's okay if they don't fit a country genre. It's okay if they don't fit Americana.
Right.
I'm just going to record this stuff, put it out. I'm going to live my life, try to be a good dad and a good husband. Because we were talking about it earlier. Guy quits his $70,000 a year job and tells his wife that he's going to go play music full time. With 3 kids and a farm and all the bills. That was a big leap, and for them, she was like, if it makes you happy, I'm down, but you better,
Yeah.
you still got to cover your end of the bargain, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot.
I don't care where the money comes from, but
Yeah,
we got to
and,
have
and
it.
I was side hustling, like you talking about Jack, like I do a lot of art and commissions and like corporate stuff. I get to do some cool festival stuff with my painting, but it was just like whatever I had to do. I would chop wood if I had to keep doing the thing. Uh,
Gotcha.
but I've really kind of landed in a real cool place where I get to take my kids to school. I get to go watch their games. I come home, turn on all of my gear, can record for a while when work's over.
Uh-oh. We lost him. There we go.
There we go.
All right.
I've got a pretty cool job now with some flexibility, and it just lets me kind of do all of those things. And who is Josh Mitcham? That was a really long answer, but I don't know, man. I want to do all the stuff, right?
No, I
I want
mean,
to do the dad stuff. I want to do the husband stuff. I like living in the middle of nowhere where I can go deer hunting in November and I love seeing the corn and soybeans pop up during the summer. Maybe when I really look back, I
Mhm.
probably wasn't built for 300 days a year going into the back of a venue that looks the same as the one the night before every day. I really like just writing and performing uh, songs and didn't love all the other stuff.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it seems like just from the brief time we've talked, it seems like the art side of it is where that is that itch that you need to scratch one way or the other.
Yeah, like I told you, man. Like once I record something, like you're in it. Like, and where I've been kind of self-producing some stuff. I'm in the cans, you know, and really digging in and mixing and adding stuff and doing layers. And you look up and it's been 6 hours and you're on the same song. But then once I release it, I'm like, okay, I told that story.
I hope y'all
On,
like it.
on to the next one. You know, It,
Uh,
but this year has changed a little bit where I'm getting some opportunities to go out and perform some of these songs. So that's good. That's going to be nice.
Well, I mean, I think you said you like to be where you're at, where you can hunt in November and watch the crops in the middle of nowhere. So it seems like a good transition to play your halftime song.
There you go. Let's do
Um,
it.
you tell us a little bit about it then. This is off of your latest album, a few cries and a laugh. It's the first track on it.
It started out as that. It's called A Few Cries and a Laugh because I was going to call it All the Sad Ones because I had a bunch of sad songs that I was like that were just bummers and I didn't want to put on other albums that we had done. Um, but then there was a couple fun ones there too. But this song in particular, um, I'm from a small town. I was always the talented guy, but it was like, people have a hard time telling the difference between their a garage band and a band that's really out there working. Because
Right.
if you're not playing a stadium, like you're not successful to most folks, right? You're not on the
Right.
radio. You're obviously doing something wrong. Um, but so for me, middle of nowhere is just kind of like that. Like I would see people at the gas station, like old guys, the old coffee drinkers, and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, you done with all this music bullshit yet? You ready to go back to work?" And it was like, "No, I'm not. I'm out here doing okay, man. Like, keep drinking your coffee." But, um, but yeah, it kind of came to that point where it's like, as long as I was content and my family was proud, and that was really all I was worried about. So that's what this song is about.
All right, then. Here we go. This is Josh Mitcham, Middle of Nowhere.
You'll never be famous in your hometown, 'cause they knew you before your song made a sound. Little league catcher and the high school class clown can't be famous in your hometown. Most people can never understand. Walk out on a good job for some country band. Leave money on the table and make a new plan. Some people just can't understand. And it's hard to be someone in the middle of nowhere. There's folks here who love you, but most don't have time to care. They say, get you a real job, take care of your family. It's hard to be someone in the middle of nowhere. As long as my wife and my kids still love me, It's hard to be someone in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to be someone in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, man. That's 100% true right there. Have you gotten feedback from any other artists on that song that you've?
Oh yeah. So we were talking about Nick earlier. He was. We were gonna. I was gonna. He's gonna take the second verse on that one because when I
Okay.
sent it to him, he was like, "Man," he's like, but because he was the same as me. Like you were Sonny Best, and you had hundreds of thousands of followers, and then you become Nick Jamerson, and then you're a solo artist all of a sudden, and you're starting from scratch. And that's how I was. Jericho Woods had a great following, and then I'm by myself again, and I don't know. Don't we glorify the quarterbacks and the point guards and all those guys? And I still go home, and I live in the town that I grew up in, and I go to the ball games and I look at the names on the Hall of Fame and all that, and I'm like, there's some really, really talented people. I played sports. I was a good basketball player, but there were some really talented people who've done other things, but we don't glorify that at home, right? Like there's I have a guy I graduated with is a symphony conductor in Germany, right?
Right.
His name is not on
Yeah.
the wall. I've got a guy who's a couple guys that I went to school with who did a startup and sold it for like $5 million and live in Silicon Valley. Their names are not on the Hall of Fame. It's my buddies who scored 1,000 points or whatever,
Right.
and that's fine. Like whatever. But it's like in our little small towns, it's really hard to see past the boundary lines of the county or the city that you live in. And once those people leave, it's like you don't pay attention to them anymore. I don't know. Sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on the wrong things, and I hope my kids are paying attention. I want them to do whatever they want to do and work really hard and be the best at it.
Right.
And look, there's a lot. I am recognized as a singer in my hometown, right? And they know what I do, and I think they're really proud of me. But at the same time, I'm still showing up to work every day and see them at the Walmart, and they know that I'm not riding in a Prevost, So
Right.
what it is.
Understand.
I do need to mention my good buddy Anna Blanton playing fiddle on that song.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering who that was. She has played with uh, everybody for the most part, right?
She is the hardest working musician I know.
I think I saw. I'm pretty sure I didn't get to meet her, but I think I know who you're talking about. I hope I'm talking about the right person. But she
Sure,
was
but
at North Springs, and
yeah,
she played for Bill Taylor. She
and
played
Tony,
for Tony Logue. She
Tim
played
Gooden.
for and Tim Gooden all the same day.
Yeah, so when she started playing with me, she had just quit playing with Coulter.
Okay.
She'd been on tour with Coulter Wall for like a year and a half.
Hmm.
And I was like, Anna, I can only pay you $200 a show. She goes, what? She goes, that's a raise, buddy. I'm like, no way.
Right.
But
Yeah.
she's the best.
Yeah. She was busy the whole day.
She loves anytime I throw her something, she's like, yep, I'll play on it. If I'm free, I'll play that show. I'm playing Gulf Coast Jam in Panama City at the end of May, and I had to put a band together for that. So she's going to play with me on that one.
That's cool. Yeah, the North Springs thing was my first introduction to the festival thing. We've talked about it a bunch of times and Dustin's kind of doing the same thing of what you were talking about
Yeah.
as far as that grassroots thing and getting into it for of course he wants to try to make some money,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's not the root of
He's not trying to make $1 million. He's trying to make
exactly.
thousands of dollars.
Right, yeah. worth the effort of putting it in, at least break even and making a little bit on top of it. But man, I met so many cool people, and you were talking about Jack Browning. He's going to be there this year, so I actually get to meet Jack in person this year. So
I got a
that'll be
hold of
cool.
Dustin too late. He was already kind of filled up at that point. Um,
Gotcha.
but like I said, like there's so many people
Yeah,
that are worthy of being on these shows, and I anybody that
I
is
didn't know this beforehand. You know what I mean? This is like a whole new world of.
yeah. Well, I mean, the funny. So I did a podcast in England, uh, uh, and they were like, "Man, your radio, we just don't have songs like your all's on the radio." And I'm like, "We don't either, bud.
That's right.
Like we still got to
We're
go
still
to
listening to the same songs that are there, are probably the same ones that are here.
yeah, like there's absolutely nothing different. And like you guys are maybe working harder to get them than we are, but it's the same thing. I'm still like I don't make any money off Spotify, but it does the way the algorithm works. It
Hmm.
does like introduce you to so many great people. So like
Yeah,
for all the money they're robbing us of, at
right.
least at least they are introducing us to other great artists and more good music. So, I guess that's the trade off. And as a listener, if you're not a performer, Spotify is amazing. And I guess at the end of the day, like that, we're kind of back to like the 50s. It's cyclical. It's like selling records isn't where you make money anymore.
Right. It's the
You need
shows.
to you need to have the music available for a wide audience so that when you play in their town, they show up. It's like when they used to have jukeboxes. You know, you wanted your 45 in the jukebox so that when you came to Memphis,
Right.
everybody had heard it playing pool and at the juke joint. It's like so we're kind of there, and I think you have to expect that part of the art form isn't where the money is, and that makes it hard. I'm working with Brett and Rich with Alabama Sound Company, and I'll be honest with you, when he reached out to me about recording a record, we talked on the phone for a long time. I'm like, "Are you sure? Like you're not gonna make your money back." You know, it's like I feel guilty you saying you want to produce this record because I don't want you to I
Right.
don't want you to be disappointed when when you make tens of dollars. And luckily for me, he was like, "Man, I just want to make great stuff. If I can't make my money back on a record that I've produced that I'm proud of, that's on me. Don't worry about it." And Rich is a super smart like
Hmm.
businessman. Like he's Berkeley educated and has his kind of finger on the pulse of all the trends and things that are going on. So
Yeah, he knows what he's getting into. He's been there,
yeah,
done
and
that
and
also.
and they just want me to show up and sing and play songs. So that's great. But the hope is that leads to shows that does lead to a following, that does lead to you know something more significant.
Well, they to plug another episode of the pod. I mean, there's Rich Henderson has been on the podcast before. So if you didn't see that one, definitely go check it
It's the
out.
archives.
Rich is a he's a one of a kind of guy. Like he really is. He's got a big, like you can tell he's. I mean, I don't know him real well besides our conversation, but you can tell right off the bat that he's a big thinker,
Yeah,
and he really gives a shit. Like once you, like we talk about these circles, but once you're in Rich's circle and he gives a shit, like he loves you like
he's
that.
made
You can
he's made
tell
some
that.
stuff happen for people that he hadn't made happen for himself.
That's yeah. I didn't yeah.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I didn't really realize that. I mean, I know he's worked with different people. I know he's worked with Tim Gooden and different folks,
Yeah,
but
I mean, he just like I feel like he's doing what he's doing, but I think he really does like to to help people along, and um, I don't. But yeah, artists can be real guilty of not being good at the business side, and I like to think I'm okay at that, but like I think he's really good at the business side, and that part of that is his education. You know, we've all had to go up to the bar owner at the end of the night and say, "Give him a damn money." Like, I'm going to come across the bar if you don't pay up. You know,
Right.
and had to deal with, you know, booking shows and doing all those things. But he really has an acute understanding of like the distribution side and the and kind of how all that works. That I, you know, like I only post things on TikTok and I don't scroll. Like, you know, I post something on Instagram and hope that it cross posts to Facebook so I don't have to go over there. You know, like I'm a reluctant marketeer because I just know it's a necessary evil.
Right.
But some of those guys are sharp and you know and like just his playlist that you know the Americana AF, like, you know, it's got thousands and thousands of followers, and if he decides to put you on his playlist, you know, you're going to get thousands of streams. So it is definitely the Wild West, and I think if you're an innovator, there's an opportunity there to be, you know, to really kind of make some noise. In where I was, I need to be with people who are innovating. I'm trying to innovate, you know, as a songwriter and as a performer, but the other stuff is kind of out of my reach. I feel like, I mean, I'm old, like, see all this white, like, you know, I'm an old man. Like I'm pre-Napster, you know, you know, I had a MySpace. Yeah.
I understand.
And
The first quote is, you're a sports guy, so you would understand. Remember the Mike Gundy quote? I'm a man. I'm 40.
yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Good.
45. You know, it's like
I
I'm not
got you.
supposed to still be doing this stuff.
Understand.
But I will say that ageism in independent music doesn't seem to be
Right.
present. You know,
Understood.
um,
If it's good, it's good.
and I think that group of listeners, that group of fans,
And there is a lot of people that don't care about all the fluff.
I mean, it's nice
There's a
if you're a good
ton.
looking guy, right? Or if you're a good looking lady. Like that doesn't make the show worse.
Right. Definitely.
But
Understood.
it's okay. Uh, you know, hell, like let's talk about John Prine. Let's talk about Chris Christopherson. They were not great singers. It was so. What we're talking about is
It's a
people
song. Yeah.
who are listening to the song, and who, you know, they're wanting someone to give them a perspective that they haven't had yet. You know, that was neat the other day when I was in Alabama on Monday recording some songs, and I live in a silo because I'm the only one listening to my stuff as I'm writing it, and I'm editing my own stuff, and it's nice to have somebody say that song doesn't do it for me. You could write that song 15 times. This one is saying something,
Mm.
and if let's take this part out and you can do better than that in the chorus. You know, it's like I needed that because for the last 5 years I've just kind of been I've been on an island by myself, you know,
Right.
and it's nice to get some of that.
So, explain. We talked about this a little bit before we got started, but kind of tell the folks what's going on down there in Alabama
Okay,
with Brett and everything.
so Brett toured with Whitey, one of the best.
Brett Robinson, right?
Yes, one of the best steel guitar players I ever saw. Listen, we opened for Whitey in Louisville, and it was the most slamming outlaw country band that I mean, I was just like,
Super tight.
this is the baddest shit I've ever seen.
Yep.
And inspired, like just like
Yep.
I want to play after them again, just because I can't believe we only got to play for 30 minutes. But anyway, all that to say, he reached out to me after this last record came out, which again is not how it's ever happened for me. It's always been me beating the bushes and shameless plugs and you know, cold emails and cold texts trying to get people to give a shit. And but he reached out to me and said, "Man, I'd like to write a record." And I was immediately skeptical, and but because I knew who he was, and we were friends on Instagram and all that stuff, so I knew he had built the studio and was doing that whole thing. And the more we talked, the more I felt like we were kind of on the same page. He just wants to make awesome records. He's not trying to get rich. It's a good thing. But it's a 6.5 hour drive for me to just go down and hang out, right?
Right.
But we got together this week, and we've been kind of pre-production. You know, the great thing about technology is I can send him songs, and he can go, I like this one, work on this one, and showed up, and I thought it was going to be more of a business meeting, introductory type thing, and we hung out for a couple hours on Sunday night, and Sunday morning I was up at 7, and 8 o'clock we were working, and got a couple things done. Rich came down, and I don't know, it's exciting. It's nice to feel like I've got somebody championing what I got going on, and they're excited about the sound, and then also just like I recorded my vocals and my acoustic guitar, and then I leave, and Brett does what he does, and that's a foreign thing for me, but I'm excited to kind of
understand,
see what he sends back to me, right?
Right.
And I don't know, there's no like real vision. It's just like, let's let the song be what it is, and let's try to prop it up, but at this point in my life, it is so I don't know, it's humbling and invigorating, because I don't feel like I'm an old guy. I don't feel like I'm done. You know, I hope I'm still playing music, you know, when I'm 80. I want to be Robert Earl Keen, you know?
Right.
So I mean, and I look at it like that. Like, I'm 45. If I live to be 90, I'm halfway there. I can cause a lot of damn trouble in 45 more years, right?
Especially now that you know what you know now, you can you can really stir some shit up.
Like, I'm ready, and I don't know. It's so I'm just really excited about the prospect of working with those guys, and their connections and their their experience and expertise. So I don't know. I think it's going to be cool.
And that's Alabama Sound. Is that
yes,
that's the
Alabama
name of their
Sound Company. It's
yeah.
And they've got some. There's going to be a couple other artists, kind of initially on the label, kind of like an initial team, and and the people that it's a like-minded group of people. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm probably jumping the shark a little bit, but
that's okay.
But I was there, and I've recorded songs, so like we're doing it. So
yeah, I got you. All right, so I want to make sure we talk about the Randall Barn a little bit more. I know we touched on it a little bit, but that's something that that I can tell just from your socials and everything, and then you talking about it. That means a lot to you.
I pitched thousands and thousands of square bells in this barn, and the fact that I don't have to do that anymore in the barn and it's still mine makes it awesome. No,
So what is the Randall Barn? What is the barn?
It's a 100-year-old livestock hay barn that was here on the property when my grandparents bought the farm in 1961. I spent my whole youth here working, and when we moved in after my grandparents passed away, they died 3 weeks apart. It was like The Notebook.
Gotcha.
Like they were a lock and a key. He couldn't live without her, and so anyway, the house was empty, and instead of building a house, we just bought this house, and it without being too cosmic or whatever, like it just got that energy. Like, this is my dirt, right?
Understood.
And I love it so much. And I'm looking at this barn, I'm like, it's gonna fall down if I don't do something with it. And I told my wife, I want to make this a venue, and her immediate response was absolutely not. But I'm like, I could see it. Like I knew exactly. It looks exactly how I pictured it. So that was kind of my COVID project, and it was definitely a passion project. And basically renovated the whole thing. It's got bathrooms. It's got a balcony. I cut half of the hayloft out. That was a fun day. when my dad came down and I had a skill saw just going right down the middle of the floor, cutting half of the loft out. But my sons helped me, and over the course of a year, I've got this menu. Now we do weddings and stuff in it too. I mean it, but I do two shows a year called the Ramble at the Randall, and I can only fit 200 people, so my budget is,
Gotcha.
whatever a $35-$40 ticket will allow me to get. But it's kind of built a reputation. I try to treat the artists as the way I would have wanted to be treated, and pay them what they're asking for. And I try to get sponsors and things to make up the difference. And,
right.
We got John R. Miller coming in May, full band. Candy Jenkins is one of the openers. The Creekers are opening. We've had the Wilder Blue. We've had the Poe Ramblin' Boys, a Grammy-nominated bluegrass band.
Gonna see Wilder Blue coming up pretty soon with Flatland Cavalry in Memphis. So
listen, Zane is a sage, and that's probably one of the cheapest bands that I had here.
And they're coming on the podcast too, brother.
Really awesome.
I know. I can't wait.
I've got a really cool picture of Zane sitting in a lawn chair out by my pond, like pre-gig, just like in his little zen space, like getting his head right. But no, it's like, and the people here, like I said, they get it now. They understand it is the cultural event of the area, because you have to go to Louisville or Nashville or some Indianapolis or somewhere to get what we're offering here. But it's right here in the middle of nowhere, and we have food trucks, and we've got some beer sponsors or bourbon people that'll come out and like kind of let people do tastings and things, and it's just a real fun thing. And
that's what I was going to say. If nothing else, it's a community event that honestly, we don't have enough of. You know what I mean? Not just centered around music, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the same, give or take 20 or 30 people. It's probably the same 200 people every time, and they don't ask who is this person. They just trust me that they're gonna be great, and every time it's great, and they're always excited for the next one. So
one thing that I've I'm sure you get asked about this with your podcast and with the shows that you're doing at the Randall and everything. They'll be like, why are you having this person on? Or like you said, that it's hard for people to understand why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's whatever it is.
It took like 2 or 3 shows.
Right.
And I always open every show, but it's kind of more of an opportunity to kind of set the table,
right,
as an MC, and go, these people are the best at what they do. If you want to see a Journey cover band, there's a bar 15 minutes away, and there are great musicians locally to me too. But that's you different. Can go see those people.
That's a party.
Yeah, you can go see those people. I'm trying to give you something that you're not going to get, on the regular, and I'm giving this artist an opportunity to reach a whole group of people that they would never touch, because of the algorithms and because of modern radio.
Right. Yeah, they're not a lot of the festivals people go to. They're playing to an audience that already likes that kind of stuff. This is converting other people,
I'll get people from Michigan. I'll get people from Illinois and St. Louis. I'll get some people that travel, but for the most part, it's just people that I'll see at the grocery store. They're like, "Can't wait for the next show. Who you got?"
Well, this is kind of like you said. I think at least for me anyway, my biggest thing is like, okay, you might not know, whatever, we'll go Rich Henderson. You might not know Rich Henderson, but if you go and watch the podcast, I guarantee you'll come away liking Rich Henderson.
Yeah.
Just because you got to know him a little bit. I mean,
the only reason you like Morgan Wallen is because they play him every 15 minutes.
Yeah, but we don't. Well, I guess you can know Morgan Wallen, but I guess my point is, at those shows like that, and on the podcast, you like it, you would be a fan of Rich without ever hearing a note of his music.
Right,
But
right.
even at your Randall shows, I mean, I'm sure people, the artists are around. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So they're hanging
Oh,
out. So you get to know the person just as well as you. It makes it easy to pull for people.
yeah.
When you get to know them, you can tell they're stand-up people, and you can tell they're super talented.
And I think people do like that. They want to say, I knew this person when, and it's
Mhm.
and it we're all looking for an underdog, and I'm just giving these people opportunity to you can listen to, and I'm not throwing shade at the people that are on modern country radio. Good on them, right?
Right,
Yeah, and I've had some Nashville songwriters on my podcast who are great at their craft. Like that
right,
is a skill to show up every day and write a song. Like
right.
that's a skill. But it's a whole other category of thing.
Yeah,
Uh, I
I
feel
think
like
what I was meaning is like, say you go to um, let's just whatever. Say you go to a Blake Shelton concert and there's an opener. There's a really good chance that opener's not going to be at the merch booth. You know what I mean?
oh
So,
yeah,
but if you go see whoever,
John R. Miller,
then he's probably going to be at the merch table and his opener, and you know what I mean. It's
and
like a,
they'll sign everything. They'll take all the pictures.
and
They'll
there's
do all
just,
those things.
I mean, there's some artists that aren't comfortable doing that at being at the merch table. There's a lot of them where it's just not in their personality or whatever, but most do it, and they are glad that you're there buying that shirt and that because it's getting them to the next
It's a
town.
hundred percent
That's their
gas money.
income.
Yeah,
That,
it's 100% gas money to the next show.
right.
I don't know. It's they would do it for free, and the fact that you paid a ticket to come watch them, they love you for that. I think the artists we're talking about respect the audience. They understand what the audience is allowing them to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
It's a gift.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of times the money is the fuel to the next town, but also the feedback from the audience is fuel to keep going in
Well,
general.
and
So
just like you said, like how many how many thousands, tens of thousands of people out there are super talented and are writing awesome stuff, and they just they just need to be exposed, and you'll love them as much as you love your favorite artist. You know, there and Isbell has talked a lot about, you know, just keep playing. We're not, we don't have to steal fans from other people. There is
yeah,
a there is a fan base for you
there
if you
is.
go out and do the thing.
Yeah. And there's a huge community. I mean, of people that are just supporting independent music of all those different levels. You know what I mean? That's crazy how big that community is. That just
And we're talking about people
eats
that
it
have
up.
expendable income, that are that is like you said, they could go play golf, they could buy an RV, they could be doing lots of other things, and their choice of recreation is, I'm gonna go see this person at the Ryman, I'm gonna go see this person at Red Rocks, I'm gonna go see this festival. I think there's a whole new category of fan who's like they love that experience.
Yep.
And the barn for me is, I'm hoping, becomes one of those experiences for people. Like, I want to go see a show in that barn.
Well, I didn't know about it till we talked about it. So now I want to go see a show at the barn. So
May the 2nd, get your ass up here.
all
Hey,
right,
and
man.
that's an opportunity for you too. Like, I'm sure you could jump in here in my studio and interview John R. and some of those people too. So
Shoot, I'd love to, man.
you
There's
better
so
get
many.
your ass up here.
This is talking to these different folks and all these different festivals and things like that. Especially the smaller. I'm not a huge crowd person. You know what I mean. So So when you start talking about like Laurel Cove and North Springs and what you got going on and these things, like that's more my speed
Yeah.
than the really big one. So
Like Bourbon and
um,
Beyond, I do artwork for them, for Jim Beam there, and
right.
it's I watched that. It was, I will say this, it was super cool last year to take my daughter to see Tyler Childers uh, at Bourbon and Beyond as a headliner with 100,000 people. When I met him at a little bar in
Right.
Lexington, uh, his acoustic guitar player CJ Kane was a friend of my bass player Paul, and he's like, "Hey, that's my friend uh, Tyler. We write songs together." I'm like, "I'm again. I hope I wasn't an asshole. I'm sure I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, whatever. Did you catch our show? You know, uh, but just to see that transition, you know, it's pretty special. But yeah, I didn't like the 100,000 people.
Understand. All right, so let's make sure we talk about you're going to be making a trip to across the pond, as they say.
I'm going to England first week of April. We're flying out on April Fool's Day. Kat, we talking about Lance Rogers,
Hmm.
he had sent her name my way. She's doing a really cool thing,
Yep.
just trying to like kind of be this transatlantic connection for people to come over here, and hopefully we can bring people over to Kentucky from there. I'm gonna go play a few shows there. Taking my son, who's going to graduate. That'll be his senior trip, and my wife. So
Very cool.
Will's probably going to get his first legal beer in the UK. So we'll see what happens.
So basically, what they're trying to do, from what I gather, just talking to Lance a little bit about this, um, Kat is trying to set it up to where uh, artists like Josh can go over to the UK, and there's kind of already a map sort of set up to where any artist that makes that trip over, or group or whatever, they're not starting from scratch every time. They're going to
Right.
have venues, places to stay. It's kind of, they're not trying, they don't have to do everything all over again from there's already kind of some groundwork laid
Well,
for
it's like,
it's specifically Appalachian artists for the most part, right? I
well,
mean,
and
that's
even
kind of
for
the.
me, it's like the fact that Lance and Hunter,
Mhm.
Daniel went over there. Like, I'm coming in off on the heels of that, so it's like they're going to build this reputation to where anybody that she brings in is already going. Those people are already going to be ready to go. So I'm excited. I think it's it's a dream to go play in another country. Uh, I think those people are starved to death for authentic music,
That, yeah.
and and being from Kentucky, like the landscape and the people and the culture is a lot, you know, is a lot of the same. Like, I'm not going to be in downtown London. I'm going to be.
Right.
That's what my wife was excited about. She goes, I want to sit in a bar with a bunch of locals and just pound beers and and just talk, and visit.
How y'all?
Yes, they're going to go keep talking, and I'm going to say you keep talking. I want to hear it.
um, so if anybody is interested in any of that, go to our buddy Lance Rogers, his Instagram, and just check out some of those clips from some of the shows, and the interaction is like nothing else as far as, I mean, it may be 20 people in the room, but they are all into what they got going on. And then the crowds are bigger in other places, and
Yeah,
they're all in. It didn't matter where. I mean, it's a different thing, which is really cool, to be
you,
honest.
you just want them engaged. I played plenty of background music.
And
I
they
do
are
not want to.
engaged, that's for sure,
I do
in
not
those
want to fly
videos.
14 hours to play background music. So I'm excited about getting to meet those folks and talk to them.
You're gonna fly 14 hours and then get a Tennessee whiskey request. They're 100%. That's what you.
well,
Can you play Wagon Wheel? That's
well,
funny.
I'll put a tip jar out and we'll see.
Understand. Yeah, I mean, I guess it is. I mean, not everybody can say they played Wagon Wheel in the UK. So
True. See,
there are worse things that
I mean,
to.
just don't record it and don't tell anybody about it.
It's like, I don't want my friends to know.
Uh,
I got a reputation to uphold. All right, so let's get to some rapid fire questions, and then we'll get you out of here.
all right.
All right, so oh, we didn't get to Steve's pie question, but that's okay. We'll have you on another again at
There
another
you go.
time. But All right, so Desert Island album. You get one album,
Mm.
and I don't know if I could even answer this question, but
For me, Southern Harmony Musical Companion, Black Crows.
that's we haven't had any Black Crows before, and I can completely see why that would be one of them. That's
Yeah,
a
that's yeah.
it's a lot.
That checks all the boxes for me.
It does. That's a good one right there. All right. Let's see. What's another one? Bucket list venues.
Look, so everybody that's ever played in any of my bands has played the Opry, and I've been really close, and I've never got to play the Opry. Of course, the Ryman, Red
Gotcha.
Rocks. You know,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
if I could just play the Opry, I'd be okay.
It's crazy how we could have a whole nother podcast on this topic. I'm sure how so just about all independent artists kind of get the turned off by the fluff that's on the radio and stuff. But when you mention the ramen and you mention the grand, because everybody likes to think that Nashville, we don't give a shit about Nashville. You know what I mean? That's the kind of the thought, right? You know, because
But we really do.
they associate Nashville with top 40 country, and that's what they mean. We don't give a shit about the
Yeah.
other. And but when you talk about the ramen and the Grand Ole Opry, there's still so much there. And you can see it when people like you mentioned Taylor Honeycutt and different folks like that have played it for the first time. You can see
I
it
mean,
how much it
my
matters to
granddad,
everyone.
my granddad used to watch. He would call me on the road, and like he loved the Marty Stewart show.
Yeah,
And he would go, "Did you watch Marty tonight?" I'm like, "No, Granddad, I'm on the road. Like I've got a show tonight."
that was a good show.
But I've got a Johnny Cash autograph in my wallet that was my dad's. It's still my dad's. I stole it. But the biggest deal for them was to take a trip to Nashville and go to the Grand Ole Opry with my grandparents, and they went to Hank Snow's brothers' church, and Johnny Cash pulled up that morning. He had played it the night before, and he rolled up there, and Dad pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Mr. Cash, will you sign my autograph?" You know, it's like so. I would have loved for my grandfather to see me play the Grand Ole Opry before he passed away.
Understood. Understood. All right. So when I say sad song, what is the first song that comes to mind?
Oh, sad song. Um, Keith Whitley. I'll, I don't know. I I don't go past mirrors. You know, like all his stuff.
All right. All right. Well, I understand why with the Keith Whitley and the Kentucky stuff. I completely understand. All right. Last question, which is the most important question. So this started off as a joke on episode number 1, and now it is a requirement that we ask this. Josh, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Oh, I like oatmeal cream pies.
Okay, all right. That's a pretty popular answer.
Those are my favorite.
Our co-host that is not here tonight, that is his favorite, so he missed out on team
I used to
oatmeal cream
I used to
pie.
go to work with my mom, and I would go out in the car and try to find change in the seat so that I could go get oatmeal cream pies at the grocery store.
I got you. And hustle for him. Understand? Got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
All right, Josh, man. I appreciate the time. If y'all don't follow Josh on all of his socials, please make sure you do. He's got a lot going on between. He's got a podcast called Every Damn Friday. He releases one every damn Friday. So there are several folks that have been on ours that have been on his and things like that. It's really cool how even a lot of these podcasts are its own little community
Yeah.
as well. Like what you got with you and Rugged Revival and all these different folks. You know what I mean? It's kind of this. We all have kind of the same.
We're in the same family for sure.
Yeah, we're cousins.
Yeah,
At least. One of these days we'll have our family reunion. So,
I'm ready.
all right. Yeah, just make sure you follow Josh on all of his socials. Follow and wherever you stream your music, hit that follow button so when the new stuff comes out, you will be notified when it happens. And his podcast, go hit that sub on YouTube and wherever you stream your music. So when he releases the new one every Friday, you'll be notified and know who it is and all that stuff. So.
Brother, thank you so much for having me on, man. I enjoy it, and I thank you for what you do. You know, uh, it sheds a little light on every person that does this for an artist. That's that many more people that they get to come in contact with, and that's all we're really trying to do is make connections and build relationships. So I appreciate it, man.